I'm happy to welcome you to something like our 8th annual workshop, the major event for the year for OFA. This time, of course, for the first time in Monterey since we've been doing this. I promised you no more marketing content than necessary, but I will make you sit through this first word from our sponsor. Just a quick commercial on what Open Fabrics is all about for any of you who may be new and not familiar with the history as well as some of the current activities of Open Fabrics. First, you can see the code for the Wi-Fi. It's on the side there. I've logged on and it works pretty well. It's a multi-step process. You have to give your mother's maiden name and a few other things to get connected, but I promise it does work. You know where the breakfast room is, and the meal room, breakfast room is next door. Meals are up on the 10th floor. There are breakout rooms if you want to have small sessions, and they're the next rooms over. And you can sign up for those rooms with the front desk, with Diane, the person who helped you register. I'd like to make sure you know some of the key people, if I can see them in the room, that you should go to for any problems or questions or any form of help. Myself, obviously. I don't know if Tom is here or not. Tom Statura, I'm sorry, great. Tom has been the primary show organizer. This is a very big job, and he's been doing this for months to pull together the agenda and all the logistics and all the rest of it. Tom, we owe you a huge amount for this. Thank you. Again, I can help. Bilbo, as you all know very well, has been a key part of the organization of this. And Sherry Winterberg is also floating around someplace. She's been doing a lot of the PR and associated messaging around this. This will be taped by Inside HPC, by all speakers for whom this is allowed, this gentleman here. And we will check to make sure at the start of each session that this is in fact okay. We also intend to have the materials on the website as fast as we can get them there. This is just a snapshot of the agenda. It does change from time to time as speakers need to get rescheduled or whatever. Last night, of course, we had a very interesting presentation by Google. There are major themes that are developed for each day, and to the extent that we could, we had the speakers scheduled according to that major topic. There were a couple of cases where we had to accommodate some specific speakers' availability, so we had to move them around. But basically today is Onward to Exascale. Tomorrow is Cloudy Data Center Fabric, and then on Wednesday is the Notes Network Efficient Computing. We always have the same goal for this event. This is specifically not a marketing set of presentations. We don't allow any sort of bold product pitches. This is meant to be technical. It's meant to be a free exchange of ideas. We encourage this to be interactive. It's not that big a group, but that you can raise your hand or stand up and ask a question. It's a whole lot more enjoyable to have that kind of an environment. We do have a few speakers that weren't able to make it here in person. So we do have a Polycom set up for some of those presentations, and we will be handling that logistics of that as we need to. And we ask you to be as forthcoming as you can with the content that you have, realizing that this is not an NDA session. You can have those private breakouts if you want. That's part of why we have the rooms that we do. But within this room, of course, it is public information. And we will be conducting a survey. I think, Tom, before you leave, you're driving the survey content?
Yeah, that's right. So we wanted to do actually a survey at the beginning and at the end to make sure we get feedback while it's fresh in your head. So at lunchtime today, we'll kind of have an opening survey, and during the closing session, which we have on Wednesday, at lunchtime, we'll have a closing survey.
Great, thanks, Tom. At the end of the conference last year, we took a survey of all of our members, and we got some advice that we tried our best to follow. One was that we needed to have more technical content than we had the previous year. So in the course of organizing this event, we had a panel of technical experts that we went to for periodic help and guidance. Paul Gruen, whom I can see walking, was one of our guides. Steve Poole, kind of in the middle of the room, was another person we went to for guidance. And I hope the agenda reflects that guidance that we did get from them. We also are going to try to make our panels more interactive. Last year it was sort of the panel all talking to you rather than engaging with each other. So we'll do our best to bring more of that into the discussions. I hope the internet service is better than what you've experienced in the past. When it was only me on this morning, it was just great. We do have lanyards this year, which is new. And we formed the Technology Advisory Council as a result of last year's meetings. In particular, some concerns that Lloyd Dickman at the time voiced about RDMA, InfiniBand specifically, and the latter stages of petascale and going into exascale. And that organization has taken on a few sort of strategic technical questions. I'm delighted to say that Lloyd's coming back for kind of an alumni session to give an update on the Technology Advisory Council. It'll be a chance for many of us to see him. It's been a while. This is just, again, a word from our sponsors. 2010 was a year I think we accomplished a great deal. We began to expand beyond, not instead of, HPC into the enterprise data center. We think that represents a major opportunity for RDMA technology, and we've been doing a lot as an organization to position ourselves to go into this adjacent market from what we've achieved in HPC. We also have launched a major training initiative that's designed to tell programmers who are comfortable programming sockets how to program with RDMA. This class has already been offered once at UNH. It was offered in Paris by the team from UNH to an unnamed client. This will happen sometimes. People using RDMA is sometimes seen to be an issue of competitive advantage and therefore an element of secrecy. So I don't even know who the company was, just that they were in Paris, and there were 6 or 8 people from their development staff. As I mentioned, we formed the Technology Advisory Council. We're working to get more time from an executive director. For the most part, this is a volunteer organization, and we all do our best. We all have day jobs of some sort, and so our ability to lead and participate is somewhat limited. So we think an ED is a natural focus for doing some of the more advanced work we're trying to take on at this point. We've also improved our website, and we're in the process of improving it still further. This last year, we provided OFED support for Rocky. And we're continuing to see significant code contributions from Microsoft into the Windows stack as managed by the Windows Working Group, led by Stan Smith. In 2011, we're going to continue to see if we can't get more adoption of OFED in areas such as cloud computing, virtualization, financial services, oil and gas, and other sectors for which this is a very appealing technology. We're going to continue to think about and worry about exascale as we see more organizations being formed to deal with all elements of exascale. Now, of course, importantly, including networking. We're looking into doing more with RDMA and storage. As I mentioned, the training is called Programming with OFED. The first session was January 19 and 20 in UNH. I don't actually know when the next one is scheduled. If anyone knows, tell me.
June.
June, okay, thanks. And I believe there are spots available. Great, thanks. Actually, Paul here is one of the instructors and one of the developers of the core content. We're doing more to keep track of who the end users are that are downloading our software on a volunteer basis. We're also trying to get members to sign up to get some of the content from our website, just so we get a better sense of what our user community is, and we can reach out to them for things like this workshop to make sure they're aware of it. We're also trying to improve our recruiting and marketing efforts, including presence at key events. We've made the decision to be at SC11, for example, more aggressive website and things like that. And this is a plea for membership. We need more members in Open Fabrics, and we need, for those of you who are in Open Fabrics, to become more active. The 80-20 rule is in effect here as elsewhere. There are a relatively small number of people that do a great deal of work for Open Fabrics, and we would simply value more contributions and participation. If you are a member, there are several member benefits, and those member benefits change depending on the level of membership that you have. So, for example, if you're a promoter, you get the greatest discount on the RDMA training program I've told you about. As a member, you have the chance to influence the direction and features and so on of our OFED stack. You can help us move into the areas that I'm describing are of interest to us, whether it's HPC, the enterprise data center, cloud, virtualization, and so on. And of course, you can take part in shows, demos, and those kinds of things, again, on a discounted basis. We also have a handful of key working groups. One is the marketing working group led by Tom, who's back now. He's a co-chair of it along with Brian Sparks from Mellanox. This is where we basically plan our marketing strategy for the year, what events we're going to. what our strategies are going to be, our press and analyst engagements, and so on. So a lot of the visible face, obviously, of Open Fabrics comes through those activities. The OFED OFED is managed through the Enterprise Working Group. The two chairs are sitting side by side. Support and Woody, raise your hands, please. This is where all of the critical decisions are made on release timing, release candidate, features. They typically hold BOFs at, for example, SC10 and SC11 to talk about some of the major things our customers and clients would like to see in the OFED stack. We also have the Windows Working Group I mentioned, led by Stan Smith, who's on Woody's staff. Stan, of course, works very closely with Microsoft and others making contributions to the Windows stack. And the Interop Working Group, unfortunately, there's a direct conflict with the whole Interop team and this event. There's a major Interop program going on this week at UNH, so they're completely blanked out. They're unable to take part in this program at all. But that's led very ably by Rupert Dance. We also, very recently, in the last few weeks, have developed two new classes of membership. And the first one's called Academic. It's $2,000 a year to participate at that level. And the second one is called Individual. We know there are cases, because people talk to us about this, where an individual in a company, maybe a technologist, maybe a programmer, is looking into RDMA technology for possible adoption within that organization, but the company doesn't yet have an official stance. They may never have a public stance on RDMA. So we're trying to make it possible for them to participate in Open Fabrics at a rate that any of us could afford if we had to, out of our own checkbook. And the benefits, of course, are you get close contact with the RDMA experts that are in Open Fabrics, and you can be involved in deploying and maintaining the cluster. This is a plug for the Open Fabrics logo program and interop testing. This, I think, is one of the most important things we do. It's actually not something that Open Fabrics does. It's an associated program. Not everyone necessarily knows that. It's actually separately funded. You have to be a member of Open Fabrics to participate in the interop program, but it's actually paid for separately with your membership directly in that program. And this program really needs more participation and sponsorship than what it has at the moment. I think there's some important benefits from being involved in this program, including the use of the RDMA testbed that's there permanently at the labs at UNH, the fact that you can do pre-testing and debugging remotely from that facility, and ultimately the goal is to pass the interop tests and have logo certification that you are, in fact, fully interoperable. As I mentioned before, we have now offered our first RDMA training program. Again, it's designed to take a programmer capable of programming in sockets and in 2 intensive days make them capable of programming in RDMA. It's an extremely well thought out program. Dr. Bob Russell from UNH is one of the presenters, along with Paul Gruen from System Fabric Works. There are some 300 slides altogether. There are something like 4, maybe 6 specific exercises that are done within the class. They actually bring a cluster in that's InfiniBand enabled. So it really is a very high quality program. And what's interesting about that is we're in the process of licensing it to members to be able to deliver on their own. So the primary strategy is this will be offered through UNH IOL, but you'll hear later on today about a specific proposal that's under consideration for member companies to be able to, once they become trained and competent in delivering this course material, to offer to their own customers. The basic idea is these are customers that we wouldn't otherwise see in the UNH class, and it was part of the concept of Open Fabrics sponsoring this material in the first place. We wanted to make it available to our members. So I hope this is of interest to some of you. We are also developing other classes coming up on systems administration and other topics as fast as we can get to them.